Hey guys, coming at you today with a different type of video addressing the cottage cheese trend and something that I think may be a better alternative for keto, and today we're going to see if that is the case. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Alicia and I'm a pastry chef with a sweet tooth. But also now I am a mother and I make a lot of low carb keto meals or just healthy meals in general for my 19-month-old. So I am going to be pivoting this channel a tiny bit and I hope I don't lose too many of you. But I don't have a ton of time to put up a recipe video every week. They are the hardest to shoot and to edit and to even figure out the recipes in general. I'm a chef. I've been a chef my entire life, so savory meals have always been easier for me because one, they don't take as much science, and two, it's something we eat every day. I don't always eat desserts every day. So I'm not always going to have a recipe video per se, but videos of me and my son making recipes together or just toddler recipes. So I hope you guys stick around and see my son grow up, and he is just too cute, and I have so many videos I want to put up that are not recipes. And I was going to start a new different channel, but I just thought that would be too much pressure, especially because I am figuring out shipping. It is going to start small, very small, with very few products and a small area that I'm going to be shipping in, but I am working on it. I gave the whole summer to YouTube trying to get my views up, my subscribers up, all that stuff, and it hasn't really happened. So I'm going to have to figure out another way to increase my income. So I'm going to be starting that soon too. Lots are going to be changing, but I'm still going to try and bring you a video every Saturday. It just might not be a dessert recipe. So on to the subject of this video, I figured out a ricotta recipe for a savory dinner recipe, and it got me thinking to the cottage cheese flatbread that has been trending everywhere. And the reason it's been trending is because people have figured out that they should be getting more protein. But the thing is, it's not quite right for keto per se because it's low fat. The lower carb cottage cheese is lower fat cottage cheese. So if you use the full fat cottage cheese, it's higher in carbs. And that's all I use because that's what I feed my son. I don't eat cottage cheese personally, but that's what I have in the house. So I was looking at it compared to ricotta because I always have ricotta on hand to make savory recipes. And it's lower in carbs compared to the 4% fat cottage cheese. And it's higher in fat, which keeps you fuller longer. And it's about the same amount of protein. Today we're going to try the cottage cheese flatbread against a ricotta cheese flatbread. To start out this recipe, I am going to preheat my oven to 350. Now the recipes I was reading, it was a cup of cottage cheese, 2 eggs, and then seasonings. I did try this once with ricotta, but it was a little bit too runny. So I may alter the ricotta recipe if it ends up runny again. I'm gonna see, I've never made the cottage cheese flatbread. So I'm gonna see what that looks like as, like, you know, the batter or whatever you're putting on the pan to bake, but I'm gonna try to get the same consistency with the ricotta. So like I said, I use the 4% because my son needs higher fat stuff when you're a toddler. It helps brain development. So I have the 4% cottage cheese, which is 5 grams for a half cup. So it makes this whole recipe 11 carbs. I found this whole milk ricotta at Walmart, and for a quarter cup, it's 2 grams net carbs. So half cup would be 4. So it's 1 gram less carbs, but it is higher fat, and it's about the same amount of protein. It's supposed to be real easy to put together. We'll see if that happens. We're gonna use my scale just because it's easier than measuring with a measuring cup. So we're gonna do 8 ounces. I, of course, didn't see a lot of sites mentioning carb count or the type of cottage cheese you should use for this flatbread. So I'm not sure if you need a specific type of cottage cheese. To that, we're gonna add the 2 eggs. I always crack them separately just in case I drop a shell. I'm not gonna add any seasonings to this. I'm just going to test it out. Let's blend this up. I'm gonna start low. I always hate it when it splatters too much up top. And there's more to scrape. It's supposed to be smooth, so it ain't yet. It's looking like it now. It's getting thick in there, which is what you want, I think. And I am not on TikTok and I don't watch Instagram too much, so I haven't really seen anybody make this, except for I did watch Serious Keto's version and I saw what happened there. So one more spin. Okay, is that how it's supposed to be? Let me know in the comments if you made this and love it. Still looks a little bit grainy, but I don't know if it's gonna get any smoother than that. Don't you know? Okay, then we're gonna call it there. I didn't really understand how this is supposed to take 35 to 45 minutes. That's something that, like, my big loaf of bread takes 34 minutes to cook. Why would this take 35 minutes? So I also wonder if you can like make this in a pan or something. I don't know. I might do some experimenting with this if it turns out good. It does say to spray, and I did read mostly say it said parchment, but I have seen people do it on silk pats. So I'm gonna give it a try on this. It's pretty thick. I'm trying to make it into like a rectangle, right? What a flatbread usually is. Upstairs, when I did try the ricotta version, I used my stick blender, and I like using that because it's so much easier to get the stuff out of there. I miss the days where a blender was smooth all the way around. Like, trying to get all of it out of there with all these curves and stuff in it, just doesn't seem like the best design. I always feel like I can't get everything out of here. Like, I want all of it. If I'm gonna count 11 carbs, I want it all. I mean, it's quick putting together, just not quick getting it out of here. I'm thinking you're supposed to keep it as thick as possible, like batter wise. I don't want to spread it out too much. Okay, I'm gonna rinse out my blender and make up a ricotta one and see if it works. Okay, the cottage cheese flatbread has been in for about 10 minutes. I got my blender all clean and dry because I don't want any extra liquid, because like I said last time when I tried this, I did a half cup of ricotta, 1 egg, and it was very runny. So I also did add some of the liquid that was in my ricotta. That's not always in there. When you first open up the package, it's kind of all mixed in. So I think I got too much liquid when I made that recipe. So I am going to get rid of most of the liquid if I can. Most of the time it's not a problem, but when you're trying to bake something, it can be. This whole thing started with me trying to use up old ricotta because I get the big tubs sometimes and I make one like baked pasta dish, or I made myself lasagna and I made my husband and son like a penne ricotta bake with meatballs, and I needed to use this up. I remembered I could use ricotta to make pasta, something we've made at restaurants in the past that I've worked at. So when I figured out that recipe with ricotta, I was like, why don't I try making other recipes with ricotta? So I've only figured out that one, but if this works, maybe I can start experimenting more with ricotta and figuring out more savory recipes. So that's the whole thought process with this. So we're gonna do 8 ounces of ricotta. There we go. And the same 2 eggs. And then I'll see if it is too thin, I might add more ricotta to it. I really want to peek at the flatbread. I have 3 more minutes before my 15-minute timer is done. So I guess I'll wait until then and I'll turn it. Got a lot of ricotta stuck at the bottom. The thing that kind of bugs me with the whole extra protein thing and this cottage cheese being like super popular because of protein, all my recipes have protein powder in them, so all my recipes are pretty high in protein already. So then I wonder if I should just label my recipes protein whatever. Because like my pizza roll has 20 grams of protein for one little pizza roll and only 3 carbs. So I say that's a pretty good high protein meal if you're gonna have that. Okay, I don't see any more ricotta at the bottom, so. It's looking about the same thickness, so I'm thinking I just shouldn't have added that liquid that was in the ricotta. And since I figured out that protein powder gives fluffiness to baked goods, I'm wondering if I can even up the protein in this. Oh, it's a timer. It's looking wrinkly. I'm only gonna do 30 minutes. Let's see where we're at. But I'm wondering if I can use ricotta as like a fat substitute in our doughs and maybe make an even better bread. It's pretty thick. I think we're gonna call it there. It's pretty smooth. A lot more is in the lid this time. Maybe it's not as thick as the cottage cheese. I'm gonna do it the exact same way. So a little spray. Maybe a little bit thinner than the other one. Now, on the subject of changing the direction of my channel, I'm debating on changing the name of the channel as well. Let me know in the comments below if you think that's a good idea, and if you do, what it should be. I have a couple toddler recipes shot, some with Van, some without. I don't know. I was thinking about just keeping Keto Upgrade and just adding to it. Okay, I think I'm gonna put this in. I didn't have to spread it out as much. I don't even think I'm gonna touch it because it seemed kind of thin already. I'm gonna throw this in the oven in like 50 seconds because I got 10 minutes left on the timer. Easy for me to remember. And we'll be back when these come out of the oven and we'll compare them side by side. So I keep checking on it because I feel like it's gonna burn. It felt like it was burning with 5 minutes left. So, and also, I don't know if it's the fat content. No one really talks about which cottage cheese. I'm wondering if that has something to do with it cooking faster also. Okay, so that was only 30 minutes. I guess it is a little soft in the middle. So I'm wondering if I should make it go for another 5 minutes. I just worry that the bottom's gonna be too dark. Maybe I should have spread it out more. I don't know. I'm gonna let it cool because I don't want the edges to get any darker than this. So set that aside, and then I set it for another 5, and then I'm gonna turn the ricotta flatbread and set it for another 15. And we'll see how that compares to the cottage cheese flatbread. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes on the ricotta flatbread. It definitely looks different, and it spread when I put it into the oven. It didn't stay in the shape I put it in. So this got brown all around instead of like in just certain spots. Feels done, so we're gonna let this cool and then we're gonna compare the two. I tried to see what the difference was between cottage cheese and ricotta, and all cottage cheese is different. Like this one has like gums and stuff in it, which is why maybe it was thicker. I'm gonna save some of this. Maybe I'll make a pizza or something today with it if it's good. I don't have anything to like make a sandwich out of per se, but I feel like it looked puffy and then it just kind of sank. So I don't know if this is supposed to look like this. I mean, it kind of looks like a flatbread, I guess. It's very flat, but put it together to make a sandwich. We'll try this against the other one once that's cooled. Okay, this is cooled enough to handle. So let's try a slice of this. A little bit crispier on the edges. So obviously this is a little bit thicker because of the spreading out of the flatbread. Maybe it could have went a little bit longer still. It was 30 minutes. So this got a little bit more brown on the bottom, which I'm surprised because I feel like more fat would cause it to brown more. I guess not. It's pretty bread-like though, same as this. So I'm wondering if just adding a little bit of xanthan gum to this one would cause it to be a little bit thicker and more bready-like. This does have some air pockets in it, which is nice. This kind of does. Kind of deflated. This looks like a little bit more like it has multiple layers to it. This, just the top layer is the bubbly part. So I'm thinking I can definitely use ricotta to make other things even better. Obviously, I understand this is an easy solution, so I get why it's popular. You know, this is fast, easy to make, and you can always add fatty toppings to it for keto. But I'm just wondering what I could do with ricotta, because I don't eat cottage cheese very much, and like I said, a half cup of this is 5 carbs, so it's not something I go to. When I was pregnant, I was craving cottage cheese, but it has the same amount of protein, just a little bit higher fat, so I'm wondering if we can make a good dough out of this with some added ingredients. Well, let's taste them. It has kind of a bready dough texture to it. See how the edge of this happened here. This is surprisingly drier. I didn't think that'd be the case. This is almost double the amount of fat in it. So I thought that the ricotta would be more moist than the cottage cheese. And you can taste the ricotta. This does kind of taste like cheese too, but it's less dry. I'm really surprised. What special quality does cottage cheese have over ricotta? It just must be the way in which it is processed, I guess. I kind of wish I had a different cottage cheese, because this one has guar gum and xanthan gum and locust bean gum in it. And a lot of cottage cheese I just looked up because I'm wondering why they turned out so differently. I thought maybe it was because cottage cheese always has these things in it. But I looked it up, and a lot of cottage cheese is just milk and cream. Like ricotta, milk, vinegar, and salt. That's all the ingredients that are in here. So I was thinking that because of the gums, it turned out differently. But other cottage cheeses don't have the gums in them. So I almost feel like I have to test this with more of an equal 1-for-1 cottage cheese to ricotta. Cottage cheese that just has a couple ingredients in it, in order to get this test equal. Because right now, this isn't as good as the cottage cheese one. Still work, but it just doesn't taste as good. It's interesting. I'm guessing there's gonna be a part 2 to this. I hope you guys enjoyed this little experiment video and you learned something. I definitely have learned some things, and I'm hoping that I can use that to figure out even better recipes. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links to the equipment I used down in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not already. And as always, I'll be back with more videos. Bye guys. Happy recipe making.